at this and I look at that first page. So the first page, I think most people should have been able to kind of get that. You went through, you put in your information, and you got it to work out. That second page, we need to write them in standard form. So if you are looking at the back of 1-3b, and you have x, I'm going to write mine up here because it's kind of hard to see when it's so small. It says x plus 2 squared. So remembering from the last unit, how do I write x plus 2 squared in standard form? You had to do this in our last unit. What do I have to do? Start me out, Kylie. What's one way I could do this?
X plus 2 times x plus 2.
I could go x plus 2, right? And I could use FOIL and write that out. That's one way. Does anyone remember the special rule for when you have something squared? A squared plus what? If this is my a plus b squared, a squared plus what was the middle term? Last unit, 2ab plus b squared. So if I'm looking at x plus 2 squared, and I ask you to write it in standard form, if you did not do that right behind number 1, 2, 3, and 4, you need to do that now. So this one should be x squared, right, plus how many x's? 4x. Plus 2 squared would give us 4. I need to write this one in standard form also, right? So I should have, if you haven't done that, you want to make sure you do that before you hand it in, okay? Questions. And then you're really just plugging in the values and you should see those parabolas. And the answer was over on the other side, they just didn't give you it in standard form. So I want to see behind each one of these the equation in standard form, right? Now this one, is it already in standard form for number 3? We don't have to rewrite that one. Do we have to do number 4? Yes. So 1, 2, and 4 have to be rewritten in standard form. So they look kind of like the front of the worksheet, right? On your note cards, I want your name, first and last name, somewhere on this one, and it to say period 4. Okay, or whatever period you're in, 4 or 5. On each card, I need you to tell me, and this is what it said in the daily planner, I need you to tell me the vertex of this equation, and I need you to tell me, well, what would that graph look like? Would it be going up or down? So, if I'm doing that, because yesterday some of you, I told you in this period to put it on the card, like where this vertex is, I want you to put it right below this x squared. So the vertex for y equals x squared, everyone should be able to do that. Where is that going to be? 0, 0, 0. Should my parabola go up or down? Up, because it's a positive x squared. So what's going to happen is you're going to do that on each of the cards. And what happens is by the end, you're going to tape all these together from the start to the end, and the end one has to say that one, and they all match up, okay? So on each one, I need a vertex with an arrow up or down. Now, what happens is now I go and find this graph. So I'm looking definitely for a graph that goes up. So I know it can't be any of the rest of them that were on this one. It's either going to be one of these two, or I have to go down here. So I cut that out, and I'm going to just tape that directly onto here so that I have this whole string. And because today we're starting to solve equations, you'll kind of start maybe seeing a pattern. Now, I had some people look at the equation and go, it's not written in standard form, I can't figure out what the vertex is, okay? Did you see which card should go next, right below this one? The card that has what equation on it? Which one has a graph that's at 0, 0 that goes up, parabola? And I can check it, right? If I go to this card right here and I put in 0, I get 0. If I put in 1 in x squared, I should get 1, right? That works for this one. If I plug in 2, I should get 4. So this was my first card, right? Right now, I know this is my second card, right? In that string of cards, okay? What do I know on this card? Again, I'm going to put the vertex, and I'm going to tell if it's going up or down. That card is going how?
Down.
Down. It's really nice where the vertex is. I had some people ask, you know, if I'm gonna find the vertex, should I multiply the x plus 3 out like this? Should I do, when they got to that equation, this one here? Should I go to this card and should I multiply that and put it in standard form, if that helps you? But what I really want you to do is look at your graphs. And in this one, for y equals x squared plus 3, should the graph be going up or down? Up. So you've already taken out this one that goes up. And if I'm looking at this one that goes up, and I'm thinking, oh, where's the vertex? I could go through all this work and write it out in ax squared plus bx plus c. But I can also use my cards and look at them and kind of try it by a process of elimination, right? Like I know it can't be any of these ones that go down, right? If I'm looking at these, it can't be any of the ones that go down. And so then I might start looking at the vertexes in the other cards. And I might, by process of elimination, go, oh, okay, so it has to be one that goes up. Could it be this one? Could it be at 0, 2? Could that be the vertex in that graph? Well, there's no way. If I plug in 0 here, right, I'm not going to get 2. Right? So I can try different numbers. Like, could I try -1? Like, I can go to one of my graphs. So when you do this, my hint to you is this, is as you are looking at these, we want to try and get those done. I should probably have those when you come in tomorrow if you didn't have them done, okay? So I don't want you doing them now, but if you didn't have them done, I need those done by tomorrow's class. I have scissors up here, you can finish cutting yours apart. The other thing that we found when students were doing this yesterday in class, and they have their whole string, is that after they got a couple of them, sometimes they got mixed up and they put the wrong card in order. So my hint was, make sure before you tape all yours together, you at least go through and check yours with someone else. So we did it in groups of 2 and 4 yesterday in class for those people that were here. This morning when I had people in, I had them check with their shoulder partner or whoever they were in here working with. And by the way, those of you that gave speeches, great job this morning. That was great job getting up in front of your classmates, so good work. So let's turn to your notes. Friday, we are on the bus trip. You guys are scuba and team activities. Tomorrow, those of you in band and jazz band that are gone, and I know band might be gone through this period, it's just a repeat. So I4 worksheet. And yes, those of you in extracurriculars, it's busy this time of year. And the extracurriculars take hours. Baseball games, softball games, track meets go forever. Plan accordingly. Get your work done. Bring your work with you to those things. And get it done. Sit in the stands. People are doing their homework. I know that. Get your work done. Get in here in the morning. Get up earlier. Whatever you need to do. So we're going to quit graphing for a while, and we're into solving. So I4 is solving. As you are taking a look at this one, if we are reading the problem. George, you want to read for us?
Yeah. An aquarium is designing a new exhibit to showcase tropical fish. The exhibit will include a tank that is rectangular prism with a length L that is twice the width W. The height of the tank is 4 feet. The volume of the tank is 500 feet cubed. What is the width of the tank to the nearest tenth of a foot?
All right. So they're telling us the length is twice the width. We know that the width is W and the height tank is 4. And we're trying to find volume. This looks like a rectangular prism, right? How do we find volume of a rectangular prism? What is our formula? Length times width times height. Do we know the volume? 500. Does everyone see where I'm getting the 500? 500 feet cubed. If it helps you to put the unit, because our unit does need to be in our answer, you could do that. What do we know about the length? The length is twice the width. So the width is W. What is our length going to be? This is going to be 2W, right? So our length, right with me, our length is 2W. Our width is simply W, right? And our height happens to be how much if we are looking at that tape? 4. We're going to multiply all these together on this side. We have 500 is equal to 2W times W gives us 2W squared times 4 gives us 8W squared. Now, this is a problem like we were just solving, only thing it's in a story situation. So we have 8w squared equals 500. We need w squared by itself. I am going to do what with my calculator, Avery?
Divide by 8.
Divide by 8. Please do that right now. It doesn't come out really nice, but it comes out okay. So w squared, we're going to say, I like putting my variable first rather than the number first. What'd you get, Avery?
62.5.
62.5. That is my width squared equals 62.5, which means w, the width, is going to be equal to positive and negative. What's wrong with that one?
Doesn't turn on.
What do we get when you take the square root? Positive and negative, we're taking the square root of 62.5. W equals positive and negative 7.9. Approximately 8 if we were looking at it, right? 7.9. But if we're going to leave an answer for this, can we have negative feet? So when we are looking at this solution, as you look at this one, our answer to this one is simply going to be that our width is equal to 7.9 feet. And no, we're not going to round it up to 8 just because it's really close. But don't forget this label, because I hate that when I have to take off a point. And some of you will just like leave this as 7.9 and not put 7.9 feet. Okay? So as you take a look at that next screen, they're asking you, why did a negative number from that previous problem, why can't we have that? So, thing to think about here is our domain. And when we're thinking about our domain and our range, we cannot have, if we are looking at this one, we cannot have our domain and range in this case can't be negative, okay? Negative numbers are not possible for our domain, which is our length, right? Or our range. Or our range. So domain and range can't be negative. So how many solutions to this quadratic? If it would have just been a quadratic equation, how many solutions would we be looking at? So if we would be looking at the number of solutions, in this case, as you are looking at this one, there would have been, if we were going to be solving this one, 0 solution is when our graph never crosses. Our 1 solution, like we just saw, and 2 solutions is when we have both those. This one would have been a parabola that would have crossed in 2 spots. It's just that one of them wouldn't have worked out for us. The next thing we are looking at, question 3 says, how many solutions are possible for a quadratic? Think about what we did as we were solving this. Was that, are they having these in the opposite order in yours? Mine looks like they're a little. So kind of the same answer for both those two. How many solutions to our quadratic? When we're looking at it, we're talking about where it crosses that. So kind of if you have that part filled in. Zero solutions, 0 roots, 1 solution. You're going to see that happen in some of your problems today as we look at your homework. So 0 solutions that never cross, your 1 solution, and then the 2 solutions. Once you have this down, give me a thumbs up so I know we can take a look at. And I know there were still some questions on writing those in standard form, and this is going back to our last unit with multiplying with our quadrilateral, or multiplying our binomials that we were doing. But this assignment tonight, and for those of you tomorrow having to be in jazz band or band and are gone for part of this period, you're doing 9 to 35 odd. So what I would ask is that you write down the problem when you are solving these. And I know they aren't going to take you that long, and they actually go pretty quick. So when you put on your paper, I would see, if I was doing number 8, I would see you write down this problem. You're doing the odd, so you're gonna start with 9. I'm gonna do number 8, so I would have written this on my paper. The next thing I would do is I'd rewrite it and get it, as I'm looking at this, so it says, solve each one, so my next step would have been to write right below that x squared is equal to 9, and then that x is equal to, and if you don't mind doing the plus minus 3, like putting your solution this way, you can put it as plus minus 3, or if you like it better, writing it out, x equals 3, x equals negative 3. I think in the back of the book, you almost always see it like this as you're checking them, but this is the same answer, right? And what this is really telling us is that this parabola, if we were gonna graph it, which has a vertex at 0, negative 9, we're not worried about those vertexes anymore, right? But that vertex would have been at 0, negative 9, and that parabola would have been going up, right? And my graph, if I was looking at it, would have been something like this, where this is the negative 3, 0, and this would have been 3, 0. That's what that is looking like, okay? So we cared about vertex when we were finding the highest point. We cared about vertex when we were finding how far out something went in those story problems, right? We are not looking at that anymore. So you're going to be doing this. These last ones over here, when you do the 43 through 49 odd, they just get a little uglier with fractions and decimals, but set them up the same way. Get your z squared. Like you add 3 first, or add 7 here first to both sides, then you divide. There is a possibility, and what they're asking you to solve, it says if there is no real number solution, you're gonna write no solution. When is the only time we have no solution? When x squared equals what? X squared equals a negative number, right? Anytime I have this, that is when I'm going to be looking at x equaling no solution. Okay, so the homework quiz is asking you to graph, and we are going to do this. I'm going to give you a piece of graph paper. Before we do that, just looking at your worksheets, does everyone understand what you're going to do with the cards? Okay, do make sure you check with someone before you get yours all taped together. Those of you that were here yesterday, I am fine if you turn like your cards in and it has yours all taped together, kind of like mine was, and you just have your name on the top. Doesn't need to be paper clipped or anything. I am, just because I want to be able to look through them and see if you got them all right. And I can set it next to mine and see if you have them all. And then on here, you should have had all these graphs, and then we talked about how behind 2 and 4, you still need to write those out, okay? Any other questions from any of these working on 1, 3B?